And it goes a little something like.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 10th episode of Ballrooms and Bachelors. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Camille.
So today we are going to be talking about quite a few things. Actually, there's so much to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about dance this past week for us. The more info and information has come out about Dancing with the Stars, which is premiering next week, which is so awesome, and Bachelor in Paradise, it's premiering also next week, right? Or the week after?
We have a few weeks. But
okay.
they're talking about it already.
They're talking about it. There's like they're doing so many previews for it, and then we have so much to talk about with the Bachelorettes this week. We'll get to all of it, but there's a lot to talk about. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week.
Okay, so I was not at the dance studio this weekend. I'm probably starting either Friday or next week again. So yeah, I took some days off from work. Even today was my first day actually back working from home, but like working. So I just kind of took it easy over Labor Day weekend. So yeah, so if you want to start with the dance updates, because I really don't have anything.
yeah, of course. So yeah, I had my private lesson actually yesterday, and like I had said last week, I started the last dance I have for my Latin, just kind of like repertoire for my competition in December, is the jive, and I've been really excited to start learning it. And like I had said last episode, I started learning the basic last week, and then last night my instructor Elena and I actually did 2/3 of the routine, and like just slowly, and she wanted me to just kind of get my bearings underneath me and just more. Yeah, I'm really excited. And we actually did it to like slow swing, like practice it, because she just wanted me to kind of like not like jump right into jive speed, because if any dancers know, or just any people that listen to jive music, it's really, really fast. It's way faster than swing music. But just to kind of get that muscle memory, and we did it like 3 or 4 times just through the routine over and over again. And I think next week we're going to finish the routine, and then we'll be completely finished with that. And then she told me probably within the next few weeks we're going to start working on the showcase dance, which I'm really excited about, because as you know, because you've done many showcase dances actually, they're way more personal, and a lot of times you can choose like the song and the story you want to recreate or represent with the song and the dance and stuff like that. So I already have all that planned out, and it's like a really personal kind of like story that I want to tell with it. So I'm really excited about that, and really interested to see. We've talked about this before, how Elena is a really amazing choreographer, and I'm just really interested to see how, and like stuff like that with performance and just like storytelling things, she's like really, really great at that. So I'm really excited to see what she ends up coming up with my showcase dance. I think it's going to be so cool. So we got that, and like I said last week, next week we're meeting with one of our East Coast directors to just talk about all our plans for November with the formation dance, and December with the competition and everything like that. So we're doing that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We have a party coming up next week, I believe. I think is it next week? Yeah, they changed it to where it was like 2 parties a month, and now it's only 1, so I forget what like days they're on. But yeah, we're having a party next week.
Yeah, I think it just goes depending on the competitions.
Right, I think so too.
Based on
yeah. So we got that going on. Group classes have changed. I'm really excited, because I think it was probably partly because of me, because I told Elena, because she's teaching this class, I said, hey, I've been really wanting to learn contemporary at some point. And then like 3 months, like I've been talking about it for a long time, and she put it on the schedule this month for September for the group class. And I'm really, really excited to see what we end up doing for that. And from what I've heard from other people, they're really excited about it too. And it's different, because it's kind of a different group class than what we've done before. Obviously, we have some different group classes, because we've done like a hip hop class and a fitness class and kind of like a mobility class and stuff like that, where there's sometimes non-ballroom group classes. But this is like a completely different kind of like spectrum that we've ever done before of dance, because we've never really done anything with contemporary before, I think, as a group. So I'm really excited to see what that class ends up being like. Of course, since it was Labor Day, we didn't get to have it this week.
I know. Yeah, I was kind of grateful in some ways, because I was like, oh, I didn't want to miss like the first one. So I'm happy that the contemporary is next week. Elena's, I don't think I've done a contemporary class with Elena, but like in the studio, since I've been there for like 6 years, I have done contemporary before with some of the previous instructors, but it's been a long time. Like the group that's there now, aside from like I think a few of us, we haven't done contemporary in a group setting, so I am excited. I feel like I was sad that I missed the mobility class because during the summer I couldn't because I had to go coach at the skating rink at the same time. But but I'm happy now. I'm back to like having my Mondays to just be at the dance studio and not have to go to the rink, so I can do the contemporary class.
That's awesome.
And I think what else do we have this month? We have the
Salsa.
choreography class, salsa.
Yeah, salsa as always. And then we brought Argentine tango back on Thursdays, which is fun because we did that almost every month, like in the spring, because David was always teaching it. But then like the summer, we took a break from Argentine tango and now it's back. I actually really like that class because Argentine tango is like so different than like all the other dances we do, especially with me being a Latin dancer. Like Argentine tango is so different. But we got that. What else do we have?
Oh, Latin fusion.
Latin fusion, right.
And then the Latin class.
The Latin class, yeah. And the Latin fusion class last week, Elena came up with a really cool, I think what her original plan was to like switch up the song and choreography every week. But the thing that she came up with last week, the little combo that we did, we all loved it so much. And she's like, I'm just going to add on to it this week or this coming week. So I think we're going to end up doing that. But it was a lot of fun. It's definitely, I think from what she said, what was it? Oh no, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was the Latin fusion class this month is like intermediate to advanced, so like it's really, really fast. And I think 3 of us were in the Latin class last week, and it was like we were doing so many things we had never done before, but it was a good challenge. And I definitely thought it was amazing to kind of just like, you know what, let's just go with it and let's do it. So that was fun. So that's what we got going on in the studio this week. Besides that, it's still, people are still kind of trickling in slowly again from like the summer and stuff like that, because a lot of the summer group classes were pretty quiet because just people were on vacation and doing stuff like that. So there wasn't many people at the studio. It's still kind of like that now. I've heard that I think a lot more people are going to try to come more to group classes starting like this month, going through the fall and stuff like that, just so it'll be a little bit more active at the studio. But I just think, again, people come and go and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what's going on at the studio. Very excited about everything going on in the future. It's going to be a lot of fun to see all these new classes go on, and there's obviously me getting ready for the competition in December. It's crazy. It's almost like not even 3.5 months away. It's going to get here really quickly, but I'm really excited for it. It's so crazy.
I know it's going to go so quick. Oh God.
It's crazy, but I'm really excited.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know. I'm really happy that you're doing the drive, and I'm like, I get to see it next week.
Oh, you do? Yes, that's right.
At least I think, yeah, so I get to see some of it next week. Okay. So yeah, and then we'll, when I go back to the studio next week, and I know with like all the change in the group classes, we're gonna have more to talk about moving forward with that. Exactly. But I know right now we're like overwhelmed with all of the shows and stuff. We were actually just doing a lot of planning right before we hopped on to record this week's episode of just like what we want to do for the upcoming week. So I wanted to just like, if you're not totally like into all the shows, or we're getting you to start watching Dancing with the Stars, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorettes, all that, let's just have a reminder. So you will be seeing this on Thursday, September 8th. So Dancing with the Stars so they did the initial cast reveal today. They just announced Charlie and Heidi D'Amelio. They were the only 2 that they announced. And then we're recording this Wednesday. You're seeing this on Thursday. So Thursday morning, Good Morning America has the announcement of like the rest of the cast. So by the time this airs, we'll know it, but obviously at the current moment we don't. And then it's also Disney Plus Day on September 8th. So I thought they were originally just doing the cast reveal on that, but I think they're doing it as part of the Disney Plus thing. And I wouldn't doubt that there's some exclusive content on Disney Plus to like incentivize it. So I decided it might be a good idea for me to wait to actually create my Disney Plus account tomorrow in case there's any sort of financial benefit to doing so. I highly doubt it, but I was like, at this point, I waited this long. I'm gonna wait to do it tomorrow to when they actually air it. And then I have the Fire Stick set up on my TV in my room, and I have to like go in and actually log in to my like Netflix and Hulu and stuff because I don't remember my passwords. I just log into it on my iPad. So whatever. Anyway, that's not my stuff. So yeah, so the cast reveal, by the time you see this episode, all of the cast will have been revealed. I don't think they'll announce it like who the couples are, but we'll probably be just sharing things on the Instagram story, so you can check that. And then it will premiere on September 19th. So not this coming Monday.
The Monday after,
yeah, the Monday after. So like that's getting ready to ramp up. The Bachelorettes, they are winding down. The next 2 Tuesdays, the 13th and the 20th, are going to be the finales. of course, I'm not going to be able to watch either of them live because I have things that I'm doing. But that's okay, you know.
We're gonna make it work somehow.
Well, yeah, that's what we were planning of like how we're doing all this. And then Bachelor in Paradise, the cast, at least the initial group has been revealed, and they are doing the premiere for that on Tuesday the 27th. So it's going to be the Tuesdays after that. I know there's supposed to be a few weeks when they have Bachelor in Paradise that there's going to be 2 episodes a week. I don't know if it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I think, and we'll reiterate this again at the end of the episode, but just with Matthew and I discussing it with all the episodes and like potentially up to 6 hours of television a week, we decided that starting from next week, we're going to post the episodes on Fridays at like around 5 p.m. And we're not going to do it as like a live every time. We're just going to have it published to the YouTube. So definitely just be aware of that. It's not going to be Thursday nights. It's going to be Fridays, at least for the whole time where it's Dancing with the Stars, Bachelorettes, and Bachelor in Paradise and all this chaos. We'll see what we want to do moving forward, but for the near future, we'll do that. And we're going to do, since this is our 10th episode, we're going to do a bonus episode to talk about the cast for Dancing with the Stars and the Bachelor in Paradise cast announcement. And we're planning to post that this Saturday at noon, and that one will be a YouTube live. So if you want to join and listen and then chat in the comments, we'll chat in the comments. And we're doing that as a bonus episode in honor of our 10th episode. And just because there's so much to talk about, we can't fit that into the episode too.
Exactly, so, right. Yeah.
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 And then we have some other things coming up for the finale that Matthew and I were trying to plan to do, but we'll announce that more.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
So I think that's so write everything down, put it in your calendar on your phone, put a reminder in your notes, your reminder section, whatever. Those are all of the dates for the things coming up. Yep. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
Okay, that's it. All right. And now we will go into the Bachelorettes episode recap. So, okay, Matthew, how do you want to organize this, or do you want to start? We have a lot of notes.
We have a lot of
nights, 2 episodes.
Yeah, 2 episodes. So we were talking about before we got on here recording, we were gonna probably try to break down each episode like one by one, because if we tried to like combine the episodes, it would just get kind of lost in translation, and we might get confused. So what we're gonna try to do is go from Monday night's episode first, and then go to last night's episode second, and we'll just go through all our notes for each episode. Obviously the fans of The Bachelor and Bachelorette know there was a lot in these these last 2 episodes, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about. But do you want to start off with your notes for episode 1, or do you want me to kick it off?
I'll start a little bit. Can I just say that Gabby's and Rachel's friendship is the best relationship in this whole thing?
It is.
Let's just start with that.
You know what? I agree.
I thought it was good. They had like a really long conversation at the beginning of the first episode.
Right.
I thought it was good, like initially, that they were like, we're going to take back this week, it's not going to be a mess, and they shed some light a little bit more on like why they were upset with Clayton, that they just kind of felt manipulated with the whole situation and how it went down. But like I literally wanted to cry hearing them be so positive about the fantasy suites when I'm mentally like juxtaposing it with the previews for the episodes. I was like, oh, this is a disaster.
I know.
Oh, but yeah, I know. And so they were in Mexico, and I know at the beginning of the episode they were in Riviera Maya. There were definitely a few other locations. I didn't keep track of all the different locations over the 2 nights, but it's like, I guess, that general area. So yeah. So did you have anything else that you wanted to say about their conversation, and then you could get into the first
okay. No, not too much. I just have the same things that you said. Yeah, I really love the conversations that they had. I thought it was really interesting that they kind of brought up the whole Clayton situation, because like, I don't know, like it's really interesting to me, because obviously the way that it went down was not great for them, and I totally understand why they were not like, just not like in a positive. It was not a positive experience for them, but they wanted to make the Fantasy Suite Week a positive experience for both of them. I just thought it was really interesting, because like it still seems like they were trying to, like we had talked about in the first or in our first episode, like when we were recapping Clayton's season, we had talked about how obviously the way Clayton did all that stuff was like he probably could have done it way better, but I don't think there was like I don't think we didn't think he was a bad guy. And and a lot of times I kind of feel like it's like, oh, Clayton is bad because of this reason, Clayton's bad about that reason. So like I kind of feel like that they were kind of trying to like make that the conversation. But I understand where they're coming from. It's really interesting to me how it's still kind of like throwing shade at Clayton.
I'm surprised they even brought up his name, because like I think they were like, I can understand how they were like, all right, this is what we went through when we went through this week. So like these are the things that went wrong, and this is how we want it to not happen. Which I don't think they totally followed all of their own advice, but we'll get into that later.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it was just the fact that his like name was explicitly stated. I was just like, I don't know. The producers might have just asked them to say it to be like obvious about it. But
and it, like you said, it was explicitly stated and like over and over again. And they were like explicitly talking about like the things that he did that was not great for them.
Yeah.
So like they kept like saying, oh, well, something he treated us this way and he didn't know what he was doing this way and he really took advantage of us and stuff like. So yeah, talking the way that they talked about him, I thought was really surprising. I thought like they could have just done something like, oh, this is what happened to us last season on our journey with Clayton, even or just on our journey last season. Here's what we're going to do to change it, and that kind of been could have been the end of it. But it's their choice and they can do what they want. I kind of found that interesting too. But that's pretty much it of what I have for that.
So Gabby and Eric's date. You can
so we got Gabby and Eric's date. Well, I'm trying to see what I have on my notes. I'm trying to see what I have on my notes because I took a lot. I know I took a lot. I'm just trying to see.
I know. My mom always sees me like with my phone because I use the notes app so then I can look at it on the computer, and she's like, who are you texting? I'm like, I'm taking notes. I'm not texting anyone. I'm literally taking notes. And if I read to you the way my notes were, like exactly, it would just be this long run-on sentence of like stream of consciousness of like what I'm thinking as I'm watching it.
Yeah, exactly. I had I still write my notes down like on a notepad. I probably should start doing the way you do it on my phone, but it's just like I just think it's the easiest way. But I had I think what I ended up why I'm kind of confused because I don't have Gabby and Eric's date first. I have like all kind of little snippets.
First. That's why I do it on that, because trust me, I like pen and paper also. Like that's why you always see me scribbling here. But I'm just like, I think with this, I was like, I have to jump it around because of this.
Exactly.
Okay, so
I have it just saying that like because they have the little snippets and Rachel was talking about how she likes Tino but the hometown didn't go well, and then she said that with Zach every piece was there with him but she didn't was there with him yet. Same thing with Ava, everything went well and she was falling in love, and then same thing with Gabby, she was kind of saying all the same things with all her guys and everything like that. No, I have my notes for Gabby and Eric's date. So they went to some kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, but some kind of like ledge that you can jump off of. In some kind of like forest in Mexico. It was really interesting because like and I didn't realize because I didn't see that was multiple levels until like they showed the wide shot of it, because I just thought they were jumping off the same thing over and over again. But they did that, and so they were just jumping into that. I thought what I wrote down was that they had the best connection out of the three guys that Gabby had left, and that was obviously, as we'll talk about in the second episode, that ended up being the case. But I thought that they had the best connection, and then they were talking about how Gabby was talking to Eric about how special the hometown was for her and how meeting his family was so just like special to her, and how the conversation that she had with both the parents were really it really was just a big thing for her. And I think that was really important because obviously with the dad's condition at that time, I think that's what Eric wanted. I think that's what Gabby, I think that's what everybody wanted in that situation where they all got to at least meet each other once together. And it seemed like she had a really good connection with him, but it seemed like the connection got way better after the hometown because it feel like she really fit in with his family. And that's what I took away from it as well. So I thought that was really good. And she had said that the hometown felt like it brought her closer together with him, or it brought them closer together. That's all I have from the day portion. I thought it was interesting. It kind of showed what kind of guy Eric is, because she was talking about how she like was scared to go off the top ledge, but he was like really comforting with her. That was really sweet. But yeah, I was like, you know what? I don't blame you, because that thing was really high, right? Yeah, so that's what I have from the day portion. I have like the night portion stuff, but I don't know what you had what your things were on the day portion. But I thought the day portion went really well. I just thought they had the best connection out of just like the three guys that were left for Gabby. And it seems like that Eric is just really sincere and really loves her. And I just think that it's reciprocated by Gabby as well. So that's what I have on the day portion. But again, I thought it went really well.
Yeah, I definitely think it went well. I just literally was like, oh my god, the jump is so high. I was like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just like too high. I was also thinking like her top is gonna, like her bathing suit top's gonna fall off when she hits that water, which it didn't. I was surprised. I was just like laughing because they had all the signs there in Spanish, and I was like taking notes. So the two that I saw were El amor te da alas, which means love gives you wings. Pardon my pronunciation, honestly, because like I'm typically good, but I'm like reading it in my like English accent and not my Spanish accent. And then the other one is El amor es un salto de fe. So it was like love is a jump of faith or leap of faith. I guess I guess salto would be jump, but I leap, whatever. So yeah, I was just like, oh wow, these quotes are all very fitting. So yeah. So I don't know. I thought the day portion was good. I thought it was fine. They definitely seem to have like the strongest connection, which I was starting to think. Obviously, they like set us up for that because they showed about how Johnny and Jason had doubts like previously. Exactly. So yeah. So the dinner conversation I thought was good before the fantasy suites, and then the morning after the fantasy suite seemed fine. Like it seemed like it all went well, and it was all that. And then Gabby had said the clip of like she could see it being him, but wanted to save it for the right moment.
Right, exactly.
So yeah. So what else did you have about the rest of Gabby and Eric's?
So I had the same thing you were saying. Is just again, they were talking about how they felt very comfortable with each other and that they really felt like they had a really strong connection. And like you had said, he had said that he was falling in love with her, but she said she felt like she was feeling the same way, like in her ITM, but she felt like she just wanted to wait for the right moment. And I do commend her for that. I think the thing with Gabby I've noticed throughout this season is that she's not going to kind of like do something just for the sake of it. Like I don't think she's the kind of person it's like, oh, I'll just say it to kind of fit in with the mold of the show or whatever. Like she's not gonna like stray away from like her core values and like what she wants to do and what she's more comfortable with. And I really respect her for that, because I think she's just really strong in that way, because she could have easily been like, oh, I love you too, but just really didn't like, she could have just not been sincere about it. But I think she's a very sincere person. So I think that's really awesome that again, that she wants to wait till the right time to get like tell people that those things and stuff like that. So I definitely agree. I think that's really awesome. And yeah, it's pretty much all I had. I thought it was cute that in the morning they like, I love when they were like going to like cook breakfast together, and then she was like, are you gonna cook for me or something like that? And then he was like, oh yeah, but I don't know how to cook or something like that. That was really funny. And then and then that's how the day ended. That's all I have. But again, I thought it just seemed really in a positive way. And the whole date seemed to go really well as a whole. So yeah, I'm very happy for them. I think, again, I thought that they had the strongest connection out of the three, especially like you said, not even just this week and what we end up finding out in the second episode that we'll get to, but Johnny and Jason both said that they even had doubts in hometown week as well.
They were already setting us up for this.
They were setting it up for that, yeah. So that kind of made sense. It was no surprise with that. But yeah, that's all I have with that. I thought it went really well.
Okay, so then Rachel and Avon's date, but they had to keep interjecting it with all these clips of Tino talking to Jesse, which I'm like, why do you need to do this? Somebody put online, they were like, Avon literally got the hometown date that got bumped to the next week. Apparently he had been on other dates like previously that he was on a boat. So they're like, this guy's always on a boat. And then he gets Tino talking through his date. Like, what the heck?
That's literally what I wrote in my notes. Like, literally what I wrote in my notes was Tino and Rachel's date is next, because I thought, because when Tino was walking forward, I thought, oh, he's gonna be next, but I was like, oh, okay, no, never mind, it's Avon. They just seemed really weird, and they were just talking about how Tino was saying kind of that waiting with this whole fantasy suite week was not hard for him, and he kept using the like nails on a chalkboard kind of like saying about it, and he was saying that it was just like gut wrenching, but the ending of this whole thing would be worth it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I thought it was really interesting, and I think we've talked about this in the past where like he kind of made it seem like in this part of the episode as well, and in his overnight, but it's really interesting because we were talking about a few weeks ago where I really think Tino, probably even since Amsterdam, maybe even Bruges, like I feel like he's known, he's probably like he's like clear cut front runner, and he's like thinks he has it in the bag to where like he like expresses that on camera, because he was saying something along the lines of I don't remember the exact words, but it's something he said something along the lines of something like what was it? Oh, I would be so shocked if I couldn't see anybody else having the connection we have, or she could feel the same way she feels about me with anybody else. And that was like a really pretty big statement. So I thought that was really interesting. But it seems like he's like fairly confident in himself and the relationship.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Only time will tell how things pan out in the coming weeks. But like, right. I'm not loving the vibe he's giving off. I understand this is a hard week, but I don't love the way he's explaining things. Like literally the only note I had in there was like the grimace emoji, because I was like, like it's very.
There's a lot of red flags.
Rubbing me the wrong way. Yeah, too. I don't know if it's just his wording. I don't know if the producers are egging him on. I don't know if it's the way they're editing it. Something is it's concerning. Yeah. It's very concerning. Right. But yeah, so maybe we should talk about Rachel and Aven, because that was a lot more. Yeah, because that was a little more positive. So do you want to start that off? Because I want to go through my notes. What do you want to start off? So they go on a boat with a hot tub, which I was saying before, which like I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back. I forgot what other his one-on-one dates were, but it was on a boat or anything. But like, I mean, it was fine. Like I thought their whole conversation was good. I think like there was a clip of him when she asked, like, do you think you'd be ready to get engaged? And they showed like his micro expression of like the at first, and then he was fine, and the conversation was fine. I was like, man, those producers love those micro expressions.
They do.
But like, you know, I think Rachel kind of said the same thing as Gabby, is like not wanting to express the feelings until like a later moment. But didn't she say to him, I love you at a later point in the day, like the dinner portion?
At the dinner part, yeah, she did.
Yeah, I mean, I just had like their dinner conversation went well in the fantasy suite and all seemed to go fine. But she did say I love you. Now, I think Gabby's relationship with the guys, it was different than Rachel's relationship with the guys. And I thought Rachel had said that, but I'm like, girl, why are you saying I love you?
No, I know.
I was shocked. And like, okay, this will be a topic for later. But yeah, so I don't know. It's the Connors, like the whole date, Rachel's and Aven's date went fine. I thought it was good. No problem. Like I don't really think he's gonna be the one that she walks away with at the end. I'm not saying I would be against it. I just don't think that's
me neither.
She's picking. I don't think she's
especially from what we see in the previews.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. I have the same things. I thought the hometowns went well. Aven said that his parents loved her, which is what we saw last week. And that again, they brought up Clayton again, and he had talked about how like I could never do that to you, and like I'm gonna make sure that you feel safe and comfortable and stuff like that, and like I'm always gonna be honest with you and stuff like that. He says again, like you said, she asked him if he was ready to get engaged at the end of this, and he says yes. They went to the fantasy suite, and I put fireworks because like of course I have the obligatory fireworks at the end of this date, which they always seem to have at the perfect time. Yeah, I read that they have a good connection. They're both happy in the morning part, and then yeah, she said that she. This is Rachel with the funny words, but she like did like this. She was using a lot of like innuendos in her package with after Ava's date. It was really funny, and then she ended it with like giving a wink and said that he was the full package. And I thought that was like so funny.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember that part.
That was absolutely hilarious. And then she was like, "Let's just say he's the full package," and that was really funny.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, no problems with their date. I thought it went well. I don't think he's gonna be the person she picks. Like again, I wouldn't be against it, but just from what we've been led on to believe, I don't think he's gonna be the one that she picks. But yeah, I had no problems with their date. I thought it went well.
Yeah. And then it was Rachel and Tino, which I was like, oh, they didn't go jump to like a Gabby date like they did with the hometowns that they go back and forth. Yeah. But so they rode horses.
Yep.
Like the country area again with the jumping in the water, but it wasn't as high as the one that Gabby and Eric went on. He could tell that she was nervous.
Yeah.
And like I know she wanted to hold off to talk about that stuff during the night portion, but I'm thinking like, girl, just talk about it now. Like how can you even enjoy yourself if you've got this on your mind? Like whatever. I that's just a thing. I think that's the point, is they're like have fun during the day and handle the stuff at night. And part of me feels like Rachel's trying to follow the format of what they're guiding her, and I think Gabby's just like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Let me go whatever. I don't care. Yeah. Exactly.
And it's fine. You know, I think it's like, I think Rachel was trying to just be like, we can get through the day, you know, because I think that's also okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with her decision. It was very obvious that she was stressed, and he could pick up on it. But the dinner portion, then she did address the hometowns parents. He immediately started sweating.
I know. I saw all the memes about it. Yeah, he was pretty. Yeah, he was sweating a lot.
And I think, what did I say? So he basically just said like how his parents act, like sometimes they are that way and then they come around. But like, what did I say? I think that the way his parents acted didn't convey to me any sense of that, like
they would change their mind.
At least not what they aired. Yeah, and I think that's the problem. It's not like, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, Avon's dad was like a little bit tougher and then he loosened up. Like there was none of that. And there was no like both sides, like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
It was just bad.
And I didn't even, apparently from what we didn't, according to Rachel, we didn't see everything. Apparently, they even did more and said more things to Rachel that made her even feel even more uncomfortable. And that even Tina didn't even know that, because she was like, oh, your dad said something along the lines of, oh, like if he got engaged to you, like something along the lines of, I don't know the specific words, but I wouldn't accept it. And then Tina was like, really? I didn't even know that. And so like,
well, because it was the one-on-one conversation. Right, so like they clearly didn't even, they didn't have time to talk about it, I guess. So
but it's true. Yeah, it's so, it didn't seem like there was any sign from Tino's parents that they were going to ever accept this or change their mind. It kind of seemed like, again, from the get-go, they were just not going to have it. That's kind of what I took from it.
And then that's the thing is like, she asked him, are you just saying this because you want it to work out? Or are you saying it because you genuinely believe it? And he was like, no, I genuinely believe it. And then it was just like, all happy dappy. Yep. And then I love you and I love you too.
Yeah, I know. So it wasn't even falling in love. She's flat out said that she loves him. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big change in tone. I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know. Again, we're going to talk about this more, but I don't know. I've kind of felt that, I don't know. I just feel like she's known Tina was like the strongest for her since the beginning, and that she kind of can be swayed easily by him. That's my thought.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, like he could genuinely believe that his parents feel that way. I don't think he's actually lying.
Yeah, me neither.
But for her to just be like,
okay,
taking that and then just like jumping into I love you too, like I just felt like that was like too big of a switch of, that's a thing of like, this was a major red flag how his dad treated you. Right. And then, you know, he's like trying to shed some light on the situation, and it's like, okay, we're moving forward. But then it was like, just dive all in.
Yeah, I know. She was like, you know what? All right, I accept it. Let's go. Yeah, she was all happy after that.
I don't know. Did you have anything else about their date?
I just said, at the end, I just said, because I said that she sees Tino at the end, and then it said that she loves, I said that they both say they love each other, and then I put in like caps, I said, I feel a little bit off about Tino. And that's like, we talked about that. There's just something to me that feels, I think it's been ever since like one of the Europe locations, something's been off with me with him, but it started to come more into light now. It's really interesting. Like, again, the way he says things, maybe the words he uses, his cadence, whatever, I don't know, but it's just something's off, and I don't know what it is. It may be multiple things, but it's just something's off with him, and I don't, again, that's what I have. And it's really interesting to me how Gabby has those concerns, or Rachel has those concerns, but then again, he can kind of say the slightest of things, or littlest of things, and then she's like, oh, okay, let's go back to loving each other now. It's kind of like been like that the whole season, and it's just really interesting to me. I don't know. It's really weird. And I've also wrote down, and we'll get into this, I know people are talking about it more in the second episode than the first, but I said that she said that she didn't say I love you to Avon, but she said she was falling in love with him, which was the exact thing that she said that Clayton did. And I thought that was really interesting, that I know people were saying that, oh, there's a difference in what he did and what she did, but it was kind of the same gist, which I thought was interesting.
I'm wondering if they meant of more what happened behind the closed doors, of like what Clayton said to them behind closed doors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that's what I'm just like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I'm like, I don't think they would do it the exact same way. And like, I do feel like it is genuinely possible to be falling in love with the three people at that point. So like, I totally, like, they demonized Ben Higgins when he did that, you know?
No, I know.
But I think it's just like, it's
hard
hard
for that to happen, yeah.
Oh yeah, but I think it's just like being intentional with it, of like, you can't do anything that's gonna give any of them. I mean, you can't control how somebody receives something, but
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
don't do anything that would try to give anybody like a belief that they are the one.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
And it's hard to do because, like I said, like, you can't control how somebody receives it, but that's a big, I don't know.
Exactly, that's what I thought.
Oh, anyway, enough about Tino and Rachel.
Let's go to something else.
Okay, so let's start by talking about now how who got fired for showing Johnny in a Paradise preview before his fantasy suite date.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not like we didn't think he was probably going home, but what?
No, it was kind of like a communication mix-up, it seems. Yeah. And I love how like they posted it the next day and it was like, oh, welcome Johnny to the beach. And it was like, well, they had to scramble and post it about him now because like they probably didn't expect that to happen. So that was kind of funny.
I don't know how that stuff works when they plan like which commercial break has which preview and blah 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 blah. But they clearly miscalculated, because it was literally the commercial break before his fantasy suite. And my mom's like, no, that wasn't Johnny. I'm like, Mom, that was Johnny.
Mhm.
That was because he was there with the cup like this. And then they kept playing that one. And I don't know. Another thing that we can get into at length at another time. And I'm not I don't want to sound like I'm specifically attacking Johnny's character, because the point is, it's like they get off the show and they know they like you and they offer you the position to go in Paradise. That is like what they're dealing with. But I just think it's very not great to see someone that's in the top 4, especially the top 3 or top 4 from the season that is airing at the time that Paradise is filmed, go on Paradise.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's too soon. If you were that ready to be, well, I mean, clearly he wasn't, but if you were that ready, why are you there? And they were saying like Johnny going from like not being ready to be married or engaged to a show where people get engaged even faster. I mean, like, obviously there's less of a chance of it for like on a per person basis, but I'm just like, what? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, I get what you mean. It was really, really interesting.
We'll see what happens, because I'm just like, it's kind of just like weird. I mean, whatever. I'm not judging everybody's like love timeline, but it's just like, it just doesn't look great.
Doesn't add up, right? Exactly.
It doesn't look great.
Doesn't look good.
So,
yeah.
So they're short fantasy suite date.
They're on the sailboat, and then says that she had said that she wants an engagement. And then he had what did I say? He had said that he thought he could fall in love with her, but that just like, but at some point, but he just was not ready for an engagement. And again, he brought that up to his family last week or 2 weeks ago on Hometowns, and he had said that he doesn't see himself getting engaged. Again, it seemed like that was kind of likely, which is, again, kind of brings us back to the Paradise thing, because it was the little thing we saw. I saw the meme, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Like you go on the Bachelorette, but not ready to get engaged, to go on Paradise, and sometimes that ends up being a faster engagement than the lead shows. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I had wrote that I like his honesty. I thought that was a really good thing. Again, I probably thought he probably could have said it sooner, because this is something where he knew for quite a while he was just not going to be ready to get engaged. But I did like his honesty, because again, I think that's kind of like, his personality, and I saw that a lot in Johnny too, where it was like, he's not going to do something if he doesn't feel right about it. I don't think he's just going to get like, because we've seen people do that on the show before, where like they get engaged or propose to the person when they don't want to or they're not ready for it, and then it ends up in shambles like a few weeks later. So that's kind of that's why I'm glad he was honest with her. I think she appreciated it. Obviously, I know she was hurt about it, because from what we've seen in the past, she feels those feelings very strongly. That kind of brings up those thoughts about, I guess, bringing it back with the situation where her mom and stuff like that, and the way she was brought up, to where like, and I feel bad about it, because she had always, what she talks about is like, am I really too hard to be loved and stuff like that? And that's really hard to hear somebody say that. But it definitely brings up those thoughts that she has, I think, when a relationship doesn't work out. But I think from what I saw, she really appreciated him being upfront with her. That's what I took away from it. I think she really appreciative of that.
I think
he didn't leave her on.
No, I mean, I think he was honest with it. I mean, I'm glad they kind of just got, like, they cut right to the chase and got to that conversation, which is that's what I'm like. I guess this is different than Tino's parents thing, whatever. But like, I just like was like, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, and that way we can move forward, you know, and this, or like move forward separately. And I think that, you know, he was showing his doubts, and she doesn't want to leave not being engaged. You know, I think the point is that like, I think it's not like it's like engagement above all else, but it's like she doesn't want to deal with this wishy-washy nonsense. And I think it's like the thing that I mentioned last week about like the general thing that is like a stereotypical thing that people say is that it's like, for girls it's the right time, and for guys it's the right person, and if he's not feeling like she's the right person, then he needs to be upfront and honest with her, and that's the point. I wish it was like a little bit sooner, but like I think going to see the family starts to like wake it up, so it's kind of almost natural that it does kind of happen after the hometown. So like fine. I think obviously it was better it happened like during the day portion before it like proceeded to the night portion, and then it is what it is. But and then they did the stereotypical thing of like, let's just strand him on the beach and she's gonna get on the boat and sail away.
That's it. I think the first one I recall is Olivia back on Ben's season when that happened, and that like they've done it every single season since.
Oh my gosh! The helicopter, the thing, like the every time.
There, and he's by himself, and he's just waiting there. I thought it was really funny, and I saw another meme of this, and this has nothing to do with her leaving, but I thought it was really funny. Where like I don't know the specific like comparison they were making, but one of them was something along the lines of one of the guys was talking to Gabby or Rachel, and was like really just articulate with his words and like expressing how he felt about her. It was like, this is the best girl ever, and she's like the person, like girl of my dreams and everything. And then it showed Johnny, and it was like, oh, I loved it. Like I forgot what he had said, but he had something. It was like, she's like the dopest girl I've ever met.
I was like, I know. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I mean, like whatever. Everybody, it wasn't right.
And it seemed, again, and this is kind of like, no, exactly. And I think this is where kind of it showed his, I don't want to say seriousness, because I think he was serious about it, but I just think his level of willing to commit to an engagement, which was minimal, was nothing at all. Because like when they had asked, when Eric had been talking to her last week at Hometowns, Eric was saying something along the lines of, oh, I can't lose you, I'll do everything I can to fight for you and stuff like that. And I know we're gonna get to Jason, but kind of above Johnny and Jason, when Jesse's talked to the both of them about this, they'd be like, oh, I'd be sad. That's kind of was their reaction to it. So it didn't seem like that kind of solidified that they were just not just ready to get engaged. And that kind of showed pretty obviously. So,
I mean, so I don't know. So I think, so Johnny,
I'm glad it ended skinner then. Like, I'm glad I didn't like go to like the fantasy suite, and it was like, well, like we like there was tension there, and then like there was some like awkwardness in the morning. So I'm glad they got it done before, because I think they got it all taken care of. So I think okay, so this is kind of like the end of the episode starts to like whatever blur into like this is the preview for the next one. So Jason and Jesse spoke, and it was like the interview before, and he was just like saying he's not falling in love with Gabby, and I'm like, how are you not sure at this point? Like, I mean, I'll get into it about everything with Jason like later on. It's a lot more in the second one,
but I think it's just like, I think Johnny was like at least trying to get there.
Jason kind of seemed like, you know, was like, I really don't know.
Oh man, I'm gonna go in on that whole thing.
But a lot.
But Gabby gets the card from Eric, and
that was funny.
Well, again, it was funny.
The same thing. They do it every single season. They did it with Susie last season, and she was like, "Meet me at this bridge" or whatever. And then it's every single season. Knock at the door. Note. Doesn't say which one, they go meet him at night. It's like, oh gosh.
They had the joke, the meme that they were like, oh, it's Blake Moynes. Don't leave this guy alone. He went through enough. Oh
I
my
it was
gosh.
So funny when she was like, I thought you were gonna be my grandpa.
That was funny.
That was really funny. But yeah, go ahead.
No, so I was just like quoting, he was just saying like, okay, sorry, my neck's cracking. So he's like, someone I love doing that with other people crushes me. And I'm here like dramatic irony, like, don't worry, she's not going to.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like no one else is there, buddy.
So it sounded like what they spoke about and what he brought up was like, they talked about it off camera, and it was like clearly that I guess he used the words like, it feels like she's cheating, which I would have been more bothered by those words, but like I think they probably discussed it in a slightly more casual tone, but I think the point that Gabby was like trying to convey, like, I know this is hard. I went through this too. Fuck it up.
Exactly right.
We talked about this.
Right, exactly.
It's not like he was coming to give her an ultimatum. So like, what was the point of this? It was just him freaking out. Exactly. And the producers being like, well, then go talk to her, you know?
Exactly. And they probably knew that was going to be kind of the ending point. If it was like, oh, he's going to kind of like panic and then just say everything and it's going to come out not the way he intended. And I think that's the reason why Gabby brought it up and said, we talked about this in private. Why do you got to bring it up now? I think that was what she got bothered by. I think she wanted to keep it just their conversation, which I would too. Like if I was in that situation or just talking to somebody, like that was something private between the two of us that we were working through, I wouldn't want them the next day and like go tell everybody. It's like, hey, we're talking about this. So like I see her, I really do. And again, I don't think Eric, like he was saying, I didn't mean it to come off that way. I really don't think that was his intention. Knowing his personality, I don't think he was like, oh, I'm gonna go up here and just say that she's cheating. Like I don't think that was his like thing. Yeah,
he immediately knew that he like kind of messed up a bit. Right. And I think even part of it wasn't so much that Gabby was bothered by the fact that like he reiterated it when they had the conversation in private, like with that. I mean, that's totally a thing too. But I think she was probably just like, they probably got to some sort of point of closure and it's just like, okay. And then it's like, he's still like, it's still clearly like in his mind and he's just like, but trying to continue the conversation when they probably felt like they got to some point of closure. So she said something like that she just felt like he was testing her. And I think the other thing too that like we have to keep in mind, like I'm assuming this was the night portion of when she was supposed to be with Johnny. Now I don't know if she said to him at any point that like she sent Johnny home, because later in the second episode when she was talking to Eric about what happened with Jason, she didn't say anything about Johnny. So does he know they're gone? I mean, eventually he does find out, but at this point in time, like Gabby just got over this whole thing with Johnny and she's trying to just like move forward with Jason. And I think that's the point, is like, it's just like she feels like she's being pressured because she's like trying to just keep her energy together to like get through the date with Jason and like flush it out and see. So I think it was just very poor timing. I
agree with you for sure, especially with the whole thing. They probably, and when there were no cameras and they were by themselves in the fantasy suite, they probably, like you said, they got to some point of closure. And probably that's kind of what triggered her at the because they probably were like, oh, we're on the same page. All right, good, we're done with this. That was probably and so when he brought it back up, she was like, oh wait, I thought we were done with this. Like I thought we resolved it at this point. So I understand, but I think it was more just the fact that again, he probably was just having all these doubts in his mind. And again, it's just the dramatic irony that it's just like, we know that it's gonna be happening later, but it's just it definitely I just think he was really in his head, which is understandable in this process. And I think all his kind of insecurities and just like overthinking came out with his words, and it kind of made it seem like he didn't trust her. But I think he did, but it was just more like, this whole process is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she had said something of like, this feels like the end for me. I mean, if you want, we can just finish this topic since this was like the beginning of the second night's episode.
Yeah, exactly. Like we can get into the second one because I wrote down that they talked about stuff in the second episode, but that what they were going to talk about in the second episode. But right, this is a continuation into the second.
Yeah, I think it's like so they go back to like Gabby had walked away from Eric, and then she comes back, and then he reiterates that he felt like he messed up. It was supposed to be a positive moment, not to like pressure her or anything. I think he just wanted to like reiterate to her how much he cares, and I think that's like that was his intention, and I think it was very important that he like readdressed that to her, and it ended up being okay, but it definitely affected her, like because she said that when she was talking to Jesse, she's like, I couldn't sleep, it affected me, like going into the day with Jason and she like I felt like I was being pressured into a decision, and she's like, I need space to make this decision, and how she does feel like she's had communication issues with Eric, and she's just like reiterating, I want this to be my decision. And especially like going back to Katie Thurston's season with Blake, like Blake ended up, well, okay, she sent Justin home, but then it was like Blake was the only one. So it's the same type of thing of like she chose Blake and it didn't end up working out, whatever. But like Gabby still needs to be in this position of like, I'm not just gonna pick Eric because Eric's the only one that stayed around, and then he brought this whole thing up. So it's like, you know, I'm not just gonna be like, oh well, he's the only one here, I'm just gonna pick him. It still needs to be her decision, because
exactly right.
That far down the line, she's gonna just make whatever decision is gonna make her happy.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, I agree.
And I think she did honor that through.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's happening in the next 2 episodes?
No, I know. Yeah, I agree. I pretty much had the same thing. I just said, like you were saying, we're now into the second episode, because they like when she walked away, that's when the to be continued thing happened, and then they were previewing the second episode from last night, and then it like you pretty much summed up what happened when the second episode came back, and he was just saying that he was overthinking, but she didn't want to make it seem like he was throwing his insecurities on her, and that he didn't trust her, and that he said he loved her and didn't want to lose her. And again, I think that really showed like the connection that they have, and I thought that was it shows that the best connection of the 3 guys left, obviously, or 2 guys at this point. And when they were talking to Jessica, I thought, again, this is kind of the same thing going back to about Gabby not making any rash decision just kind of for the sake of it, or letting other people decide for her. Again, it's kind of her strong personality to where she's like, I'm gonna make this my decision, and it has to be my decision, even if it works out or not, whether I end up with Eric or end up with Jason or don't end up with anybody. I know that it was the best decision that I made, and I made it with like knowing like all the circumstances that could have been surrounded by it. I made it because it was the best decision for me, and it was made solely by me. So I thought that was really important as well. And yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for both of them, and I'm glad that they resolved it. Obviously, it probably would have been better if they kept that conversation private, because I think obviously that's what Gabby wanted, like I said. But I'm glad that they ended up resolving it, because obviously we'll get into the end of the episode later. But it seems like they were on good terms after that, so that was good.
Yeah, and the end of the clip. The end clip on the first episode was the lizard that came to get the food. When Gabby and Rachel were talking, it was like, I mean, it was like a little bit of it was in the bloopers that they showed last week, but I was like, this is absolutely hilarious.
It was so funny, I know. And I didn't know those things. Like, those things were huge. I was like, oh my God, it was crazy.
Yeah. So I guess now we can go into
Jason.
Last night's episode,
which was a hot mess. Yeah.
Jason and Gabby.
Yes. So do you want me to start, or do you want to go?
You could go. You go first.
Okay. So they showed kind of like the separate ITMs for both of them, and Jason had said that, or Gabby, they showed Gabby first and said that she was falling in love with Jason, and that obviously it was disappointing what happened with Johnny. And this is kind of, again, with like kind of us knowing stuff before she does. But she was saying that she was falling in love with him, and that she feels like he feels the same way. But then they cut to Jason saying that he just didn't feel like, and that's where they showed the whole Jesse clip where he didn't feel like he was getting ready to get engaged, and that he wasn't falling in love with her at that point. He didn't know if that could be possible in 7 days. And I can understand that, but then it's also, again, like this at this point, like it's kind of interesting that he doesn't know, or if he can get there. It seemed like he was just kind of closed off to the situation. And I know we'll find out about it or talk about this more at the night portion, but it was really interesting, and that's all I had on it. But they I thought it was really funny because she was like, well, let's go do something that you maybe have never done before, and I'm really good at, and you've never done before.
Yeah.
And obviously it ended up being the like opposite of that.
Because
they went to go play tennis, which obviously we find out that he played it in college, and he was teaching her how to play. And he had said that he feels like he can be his or she said that she feels like she can be herself around her, and he said the same thing, and that it feels really easy. And I just felt like it was a fun day. And then she said, oh, I'm really hot, so let's go in the pool. So I thought the tennis thing was really cool, because again, it was like she said, it was not anything too fancy, and they could still have fun doing that. So I thought that was a cool thing. And then obviously, did you have any thoughts on that before we go?
I mean, let me tell you, I don't know if she's never played tennis. I've played tennis a bit. I never I've played it like casually. I did take some lessons, not like to actually know the scoring. I'm still so bad with the scoring, but she was doing pretty well, I have to say. I know. But it was really funny because she took all the balls at one point, and then she's like shoving them in her bra.
Oh, I know. That was really funny. I know. And he was like, why do you have that many balls? And he was like, she said that, and then he was like, I might need to use them later or something like that. I thought that was really funny. Again, so it was really funny. But yeah, that's all I had on that. And then, like I said, they went to the pool, and then when they were at the pool, they were kind of just like what they did with Tino. They threw in the Eric situation. So like he was narrating while they were in the pool, and he was talking about how he again, it was just uncomfortable to know that like other people were with Gabby at this point, and again, he just had his insecurities, but he thought that he was very confident in what they had and stuff like that. But that's all I had. I don't know what you had.
I mean, from the day part, I thought the day portion was great, and then we know the dinner portion was like going to be a nightmare. But
me too.
I was screaming at the television. The conversation was so slow. It was so slow. It was like, and then finally, he drops the bomb about not being fully there yet. Her face like immediately froze and was like, what? And she was shocked. She didn't even know what to say at first. Like she was stuttering. Like she was like tripping over her words. And I just like and him saying he doesn't feel like he really knows her, I feel like is such a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's like, yeah, okay, but that's also partial. And yeah, you're never gonna fully know somebody. Like if you're in a good relationship, like you're constantly finding out new things about somebody all the time. Like you're constantly trying to get that deeper level. Like I just feel like saying it, you're not gonna know. Like you're not gonna know. And I think it wasn't so much of the like, okay, if he wasn't ready to be engaged in a week, but I think it was just like he seemed so like not like this is like my hand motion, like I know, like he's just so spacey about it. Like I just feel like it's like that is in an indirect way accusing her of being inauthentic with him because the cameras were around, and I was like, what the heck? I just
yeah, that was really weird, especially because she like she had said previously, she was fully convinced that he was ready to get engaged. So like all the signs that she got from him was that he was ready. Then he dropped this bombshell on her, and then like you said, she didn't even know what to say at that point. She was so confused. And another thing is that she was like, well, do you think you can get there at some point? He was like, well, I don't really, like you said, it was kind of like a slap in the face to him. It was like, well, I don't even really know you. Again, he seems so like kind of like out of the loop because of the show, and that's kind of what he was like. That was kind of his explanation, was like, this show is not like, I can't get to know you because of these cameras and the show and everything. And I can understand that. I understand.
I get it. Yeah,
I understand, but it's like, I don't know, it's just something off about it. I don't really, it just seemed like he was so turned off by the entire situation that he was just like, I don't know, I give up. That's kind of
I was just like, I said to my mom, I'm like, listen, I don't want to pass judgment on this guy because like in the sense of like whatever, he's probably a great guy in person and this was a whole awkward situation for him, but I was just like, I would be falling asleep during that dinner conversation. He talks so slow and he doesn't I'm like this, but you know how I am. Like if you listen to this podcast or you know me, you know that I talk like 100 miles an hour. Okay, so I just am like, I'd be like, please speak, like speak faster, like I can't exactly. And I think it was just I don't know. I think it was important that they like at least were like, let's at least try to use the time without the cameras to talk, because everybody just thinks it's about like having sex, and that's not what the whole fantasy suite is about. It is actually a time that you have time to talk without the cameras and all the producers and everybody there.
Exactly. And from what I've heard, this is the only time they get like that, like without cameras, the only time. Like it's like not even 24 hours, it's probably like 10 hours where they have no like disruption. And another thing is that I thought it was interesting, was that he had said that he's a realist and didn't feel like, again, that he could get further with her. But then he also said that like, I think this is even crazier. She said kind of like in her ITM, again, I'm not even sure she said it to him, but we heard the audio of her. She said she thought it was going to be him at the end. So she fully thought that he was gonna be the guy that she picked, which is like crazy that like he didn't have like any intention that he was gonna be the one proposing to her, and she thought that he was. So like that was so crazy to me. It was just so crazy to me.
The metaphor of the dead bug and the champagne in the morning was just like, I was just like, bad sign. I mean, it's just, it was sad to me. Like what about what a horrible ending to the relationship. I just feel like in hindsight, it looked like he was going through the motions, and this has to make Gabby feel like she can't trust her own judgment, which is hard because like I think that's where she was just like, what the heck, you know. And I just,
you know, let him go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I think it's just like, I don't know. I just was like, that was just like literally a mess.
I know. He had said that he was guarded, which obviously we could see, and she even knew that. She had talked about that in Hometown. It was like he doesn't talk much, and he's very like reserved and everything. But I like that about him and everything.
Yeah.
It was so slow, and they did this twice. Both things, and then we'll get to Zach in a minute, but like they did two things, both those night dates that like didn't seem to go well.
No.
They showed kind of like the morning where there was like nobody in the bed. There was some like you said, the bug in the champagne. They like were playing this kind of like dramatic music behind him. I was like, oh no, what happened? That's kind of like where we were led to think.
Yeah.
And then she had said that when she was by herself, and once they started talking, I think from what I heard, the way Gabby explained it, I think she was just fed up at that point. I think she was like, she tried to give him a chance. But
I
she was
would be
like, you know
too.
what? I think
100%.
she was so done at that point, because when she was talking to Jesse about it, and just kind of like I don't even know if she was talking to Jesse, but when she was talking with her audio, she had said, just from what I took from it, I don't think they talked that long that night. I think
they didn't even turn the bed down.
No, exactly.
They didn't even turn the bed down.
They didn't.
Like the champagne was still mostly full.
Oh, exactly. So my thought process is, from how she explained it, they probably talked for a few hours max.
If even,
maybe less than an hour. And then they're like, you know what, this is not going to work. Like, let's just call it quits at this point. Because they're like, she said, once they started talking, they realized it just wasn't going to work out for them, and that they couldn't agree on basic things. And she said, Jason, she was happy Jason was still there, but she said that she was wondering why he stayed, especially how he feels. And then he said he feels confused, and she wanted to try to see it through, but then he said he is scared to try to make it continue and stuff like that. So it was really strange. But like I was saying, my kind of thought process is that after probably they started talking, and then that next morning, she was obviously upset, but I think she was probably just more fed up with the situation. She's like, you know what, it's gonna I'm done with this. That's kind of what, because then she said she felt let on, which I could totally see that too.
And I don't think that was his intention, but it's I think at one point she basically said to him, like, I don't even feel like you fought for us. And I 100% agree with that.
I do. He
didn't seem like he did that. Because look, there's one thing to be quiet and to not be outspoken and to be shy and introverted and whatever. But
right.
And it's like, yeah, if you're quieter when you speak, like whatever. That's me criticizing how he speaks. That's a me thing. I'm 100% aware of that. But I just like the way that I read it is, it's just like, you can be quiet and shy, but still speak with conviction.
Right.
And I don't, ever since like the Hometown, I definitely noticed him back off from speaking with like any sort of conviction at all.
Me too.
And like that was the biggest thing that I just was like, it was so blaringly obvious. Cause like I didn't dislike him. Like, I don't know.
Look what his mom told him. It was the same thing. Like, again, he didn't even say, and this is kind of going back to saying that she felt like he wasn't fighting for her, which is totally accurate in my opinion. Because when he was talking to his mom, and the mom was like, don't let this good thing get away. And she had said, oh, what would you feel like if you didn't get to end up with her, or it just didn't work out? His basic reaction, and from what I remember, it was just like this: I'd be sad. That's kind of what he said. I was just like, well, it doesn't seem like you really care that much, because like I can't say that I can't say if he cared for her that much or not, because maybe he did, but he just
I don't like that. Just like it wasn't like a head over heels like whatever. I mean, I don't. Yeah, and like I feel like that's the thing. Like Johnny at least was like, seemed like he was like trying to get there and like really like giving it his all, and then if just like wasn't seeing further where he's at, and that's like it's understandable, but I don't know. This was just like
really
like
weird.
I don't know. Jason didn't get the memo. He didn't get the memo.
Exactly right. Yeah, he didn't. I know. Yeah, exactly. So I feel the exact same way. And then the thing that was really sad to me, and again, it brought up the insecurities again of Rachel saying that she didn't think she could be loved, because when they were interviewing her, she had said that he didn't even love her, which is like sad to think that that's how she felt. And I could totally like understand how she feels. And again, like when we've seen this like throughout the season, even from the second episode, where they had that little like hometown, not hometown, but like the one-on-one date where they had or the group date where they had the guys come over to their house before they moved out. She had the insecurity even then, talking about like she didn't know that if people were going to love her or not too. And it was just, it's really sad to see that come up all the time. But and again, it showed the same thing, but I also thought it showed how strong she was because again, she didn't let the situation break her down completely. So I thought that was really good. But yeah, it was a really weird date. It was really strange.
Hot mess of the evening.
I know, exactly.
Like maybe it was a lukewarm mess. I don't know.
I know, exactly.
Rachel and Zach.
Oh, here we go. Let's do it.
Like they went around the town that they were. that's why it wasn't still Riviera Maya. It was another part.
Yeah, some town, and they were talking about how good their hometown was because like before they walked around the town, they like went to try some tequila and stuff like that, and they were talking about. And this is where again I'm so confused. I know we'll get to like the meat of this conversation later, but she had seemed so happy with how the hometown went. She was talking about how like, oh my gosh, your mom was like the sweetest, and I love your backyard because the backyard was like my dream backyard, and like she was just going on and on and on about how great the hometown was. But I don't know. But yeah, go ahead. They were walking
oh no, yeah. I mean, I thought it was nice. Like the dinner portion conversation was fine, but she did not say she loved him too. That was like super major red flag because she basically said it to Tino and eiiwun or said she was falling in love with Tino. Like she didn't say anything to Zach, and I was like, what the heck? And then then the next morning it seemed okay at first, but then it was like very clear immediately that there was
something happened.
Tension. And like then she kind of was just like, we're on the same page, and like she kept saying that. What are you
and then she kept saying something like clarity. And I was like, oh no.
But then, okay. So what he said was apparently that Rachel brought up that she doesn't think that he's ready to be married. Okay. And then so he went to go talk to Jesse about this whole thing. See, this is when it starts getting a little bit confusing in this whole thing. But she is only like 4 months older than him.
I know.
And the other two guys are only 2 years older than her.
I know. So I don't understand. Yeah. This is where it gets confusing because No, go. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's so weird because again, they had this like really happy like day portion of the day. Like they went to go eat, they walked around the market and saw different things, and then they went to like the tarot card reader, and then they like did. And then she was talking about, and it was all fine. And she's like, well, like I'm worrying about the past, and of course she said that, and then Zach was reassuring her about. Like again with the whole Clayton situation was like I'll never treat you that way, and I got to make sure that I'm always here to protect you and reassure you and everything like that, because he could tell that she was struggling with the past as well. And I literally wrote in caps, I said I think he's the best fit for her, like from the day portion. That's
what we've been feeling.
That's what we've been feeling since hometown, maybe even before that, because like even from the first one-on-one I thought that. From their first one-on-one, I thought he was still better fit than Tino, even though Tino was still like the clear front runner at that point still. So weird. But again, I said they were eating, drinking coffee in the morning, and then she said they didn't sleep, but then something seemed off because he was like, that was so funny. He was like, seemed like so like not a chaotic situation or any drama going on with it, but when they were talking about the coffee thing, and she was like he was like it was a good cup of Joe or whatever, and then she was like, really, you like it? And then he was like, oh, I love the taste of the beans. And then and then she was like, oh, just like it's just like you just ground them up, right? And then his face was like he seemed kind of like confused, and that kind of like he was so it was so. You could see, because before he said that, her face was just kind of like blank. Like they weren't even talking. And I was like, oh no, what happened?
So I don't know. That's just shocking to me because like like, okay, it's all kind of like a cluster at
Yeah,
the end.
there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and then we'll probably
Yeah.
have a conversation about this.
Yeah, I'm like, just like combining all the stuff at the end. So like Jesse, basically what happens, and then they go to the rose ceremony, like right before she's gonna grab the rose, Zach asked her to go speak. And then we're like already like, okay, yeah, we're gonna watch this conversation. And then Jesse's like, they're not gonna air the conversation, they'll air it over the thing because it's just so confusing and so messy and blah 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 and this whole thing.
Whatever, yeah.
So I just said to my mom, I don't think Zach has any reason to lie about that.
No, me neither.
Unless he misunderstood something Rachel said, but like he basically said that she just totally acted like a different person when the cameras were off. And then if she specifically, like, maybe she was just knowing it wasn't him and then started trying to make up excuses of like, oh, well, maybe you're not ready. But like, that looks really bad for her because she's literally 4 months younger than him.
I know.
I don't understand. Like, and people were grilling her online. So like,
no.
I mean, we're gonna see what ends up happening, but I mean, I'm literally sitting there like, Zach for Bachelor? Question mark.
I know, me too.
Oh, I don't know.
We can go through the theories, but it's because I heard a lot of different theories.
Yeah. Well, let's finish this episode.
Let's finish this episode.
That was the only thing that I was like, I don't think he's lying.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
This is still kind of in this episode because he had talked about it, but I heard a lot of people talk about this too. From like other recaps on YouTube and everything, and they were saying, well, he said this twice. He said it in like his ITM, and then also said it to Jess, where he had talked about how they talked about his exact words, where they talked about religion and politics, and then those kind of things. That's kind of how he said it.
I thought he did say something like that, like very briefly, but like sometimes I miss a word.
He said it, yeah, and then but I think what's the big thing here is he said it twice. He said it in his audio thing, and he also said it to Jesse because he brought that up as well. And I heard somebody talk about, and I think even if it's not religion or politics, but I've heard people say that they think something came up politically where they disagreed on it. But then also, even if it's not just that, maybe some kind of core value thing came up and they disagreed on it. And maybe Rachel acted in a different way that Zach didn't expect from her. Like the way she reacted to it.
Oh, that's totally possible. But then like, why is he telling Jesse it was that situation? Unless he's just citing one thing that came up. Yeah. I mean, look, if that's a thing, then that came up, then that's a thing that came up, and then they're not supposed to be together. So I just don't know. I mean, it's sad.
He's not ready. That's not the reason. That's not the reason. Because that doesn't make any sense. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense at all.
I don't mean either. I don't know. It was really.
I don't know. But then of course they had the clip because so then like. Yeah, no, I know. And then like that was the clip that they had where it's like Gabby wasn't joining Rachel, and I'm like, yeah, because the rose ceremony, because she only has Erica left.
I know. I thought that was so funny.
I know. Wound us up with this.
Exactly.
Okay, so what else did you have about Zach before we move on to Gabby and Eric?
Oh, okay, yeah. So it again, it was just so confusing because I feel like it came out of nowhere. That whole situation, it was so strange. And it was just so weird that, like, again, what he was saying about, it was just the age thing. There's no way that was what it was. Something else came up in the conversation that, and like we've talked about before, and I think this is really true. I think Rachel knew she was going to pick Tino pretty much from the start. And no matter really what happened, which is, especially with like what we've heard, I've heard a lot of other Bachelor fans say this too, where it's kind of weird, especially like we've been seeing a lot of red flags with Tino like recently, and there really hasn't been any with Zach. So it's just kind of weird that like that's what she's deciding to do, but okay. So yeah, that's what I was thinking, but it's really just strange to me that what happened. I'm interested to see, and I think we'll be able to draw more conclusions when we see Rachel's response to this, because she hasn't said anything about this. It's all been Zach. So it's interesting to see how this ends up going up next. I'm assuming they'll play that clip or that part of the conversation next week when he took her away from the rose ceremony and they're going to talk. So I'm interested to see what that's like. But again, it was just so random.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
And we'll get into more about our theories. Yeah, so then, I mean, okay, so then Gabby went to go talk to Eric. I was sitting there with my mom, and they were talking, and then I was like, Mom, the music sounds positive. This is good.
I know, exactly. I was like, finally, some good news.
And she said, she told him that she loves him, and she just wanted to process everything that happened and come to it on her own terms, which I 100% respect. Also, I loved her outfit that she was wearing, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, it's cute. And yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I think at least at this point, it's like, okay, you're here. I love you. I'm all in with you. And then like, they still got to write out the rest of the process and see.
Exactly. And
where
that's where the whole thing came up.
I didn't feel like it was as a reactive of a decision as Katie's was picking Blake.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's
exactly.
just, that's just like a me thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and then they had the end clip where Rachel was talking about how she looked like a Renaissance child in the paintings.
I know.
Oh,
it's really funny.
And then all the previews killed me. Crazy. Do
you want to give your theory of what you think happens? Because I have mine.
I mean, I think Gabby and Eric are going to go through some issues, and maybe they just, I don't know if she's going to end up like single, or if she's just going to be that they had some issues and they're going to keep showing the issues and this and that. I think with Gabby, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be, maybe they just don't leave engaged, which is fine, but like, something's going to happen with him, but I don't know. Hopefully it's not, because I'm trying to even like remember all the previews. With Rachel, it was weird because I feel like there were a lot of clips of her talking to Zach. So is she going to get rid of Zach in the rose ceremony?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I can't imagine she would get rid of Avon and not Zach.
I know, especially after this. But I don't know.
So I don't know. But then I felt like there were a lot of clips of her talking to Avon, and there were some clips of her talking to Tino. Yeah. And I'm just like, what is going to happen?
From what I saw in the preview or in the promo, and a lot of people were talking about this, the clips they show of Tino and her seem like it's in some kind of like different house that they've never been in before. So people, and I this is my theory and what people are thinking, what I've heard, they think Rachel picks Tino, he proposes to her, something happened in the last few months or weeks or whatever, they film it just like they've done this recently with a lot of other seasons, they break up, and then they address it all in AFR. That's what I think happens. I think I think there's something with that. Something happened. That could happen. Yeah. Something happened in between her picking him and then proposing, and then they go film something, and that's why she was saying to him, I want you to tell me right now why you did this to me, or something like, oh, you did what you did. And that seemed like she was talking to Tino after the fact, after the season was done. That could be. So it seems like that's right. And I don't know what, because like, my assumption is that if that happens, she's not with Tino anymore. I feel like they're not together anymore. If that's the case, who would she go to? Because I don't think she'd go back to Zach after the situation. But we've seen weird things, because look at the whole Susie and Clayton situation. We thought that was not going to happen at all, especially with the Iceland situation. And then she came back, and then it was a little different, but I think, I don't know. I really don't know. I wanted them to end up happy. No, I do too. And I literally wrote like 7 exclamation points. I said they could not have a double lead season again. I know we talked about this, but they cannot do it again. Oh, wait, no. So funny story. I was watching live with Kelly and Ryan, and they had Jesse Palmer on. And they're mostly talking about football. And then they were mostly like, he was trying to explain some of the stuff about The Bachelor and whatever. Right. And he was trying to explain it. And I felt like they kept cutting him off. And I know Kelly does not like The Bachelor. She's made it very clear in previous episodes. And I've always liked watching like Kelly, and when it was Regis and Kelly, and I'll sometimes watch Kelly and Ryan, and like I had it on the background while I was working today. And it was just like a very short clip, but like Jesse's trying to explain the whole thing with Avon and Tino and whatever. And I felt like they kept cutting him off and like not explaining. And they're like, oh, well, how are Avon and Tino with each other? And I'm like, I don't understand, but whatever. But Jesse said something, sorry, the point of why I brought this up, Jesse did say, well, they might have 2 bachelors at some point. Like, it's not possible, because I know ABC's trying to do that. So he did like kind of drop that little hint of like, it's possible. I would love to see the reaction of Bachelor Nation if that happens. Because I'm so upset with the 2 leads right now. Or like the format. I have to say, I don't think the issues that Gabby and Rachel are dealing with are because there's 2 of them. Yeah, it's not the reason why. Yeah, it's the nature of the Gabby's guys and Rachel's guys. Yeah, it's not
I don't think it has to do with.
No, yeah. Or
Yeah.
just that I think also that they changed the format like 4 times during the season. I think that's also a reason. I feel like if they went into the season kind of like, this is what we're going to do, and that's going to be the thing for the season, it might be a little bit better too. They kind of like what they were doing like every 3 weeks, so that kind of made it confusing too.
Yeah, and this was kind of like, listen, I think it was better that they did this than the way they did it with like Britt and Caitlyn, like way back when, where they basically like voted Britt out of the house. I thought that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. And I know Caitlyn Bristow like hated this whole thing. I just think that if they ever want to do this dual lead situation again, I think bottom line is it's like you tell them straight up front, you have 3 rose ceremonies. By the 3rd rose ceremony, you pick who you're with and you don't switch.
Yep. And if you switch, you can't be on the show.
Or you can switch whatever, but like, you know, like I think that was where Logan kind of got stuck in the crossfire of like he didn't know how to handle it. And like I think that's where there's like a little bit of sympathy for him in the sense of like, you know, he would have benefited from having a meeting like at the cocktail hour. And I think a lot of the issues that transpired with like, it's just like, unfortunately, it was just some of the guys that Gabby picked. This was just their feeling. Yeah. And I think with some of the guys that like with Rachel's situation, I think a lot of it is just based on like Tino's personality. And that's what I think has really been like the main factor affecting both of their situations at the point in time.
Yeah, like, exactly. I agree.
It's not about necessarily 2 leads. Like I think it's just the whole thing of like, yeah, they get less airtime and it's harder to watch the stories unfold. And I'm sure it was like a pain in the butt to edit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just kind of hope that like at least one of them has a happy ending to this.
I do too. I really do.
Like, ideally both.
Yeah, me too. I've heard a lot of people saying I can agree with this and see this happening where like what they're showing of Gabby and Eric, like them being upset, might not be the reason that we're thinking it is. It like might be just like, oh, they're talking about like emotional stuff, but like it's not like they're fighting or anything like that. So maybe she gets engaged to him. Which I would love, but like I really think what people are talking about is what would happen or what happens with Rachel. I think that's very likely. Where she picks obviously, I think there's like no question she picks him. She picks him, and again, like I said, what they showed looked like he was walking out of some kind of house, like just recently. And that something happened, they fight, they break up, and then they talk about it on AFR. And I'm interested to see if that ends up happening, if she's with somebody else or no one, because like that's kind of an interesting situation. It's they showed in the preview that they all the remaining guys meet Gabby's family, so I get to see Grandpa John next week or the week after, which is going to be awesome. And it's going to be really cool. But yeah, it's a really crazy. Like I said nightmare promos because it really was. It was crazy, and like I said, they've done this in previous seasons where they've done like something happens after the proposal, and then they talk about it on AFR, which is really interesting. I thought it was really funny, and I've talked. Going back to this, I love how they edited this, and they talked about or in the preview last week where he was like, "Oh, you're the only bachelor I hear," to Rachel, and now we saw this week what that was.
Yeah,
that was so stupid that they like made it seem like it was like during the finale of the proposal, but it was just this rose ceremony thing. And it was because there was no reason for her to show up because there was only one guy left. And of course,
just like, okay,
like, okay, thanks. She was like, it's gonna be weird without her, but okay. I thought it was so funny. I saw a lot of people making like comments about this on social media where Jesse was in the like abandoned studio. All that was like all like gutted and everything, and people were like, "Oh, he's being held hostage there." That was so fun. And of course,
let's get engaged.
No, yeah, I know. I think the thing was like when I hear the most dramatic and most shocking stuff now, I'm so numb to it just because I don't really even care at this point because it's like I hear it all. They really
phrasing it differently.
I know, but they just hype it up every single season to where I'm like, yeah, okay, I really don't care. So they did that. I'm interested to see what ends up happening with how, like we talked about this right before we started recording, how they end up kind of breaking up the 2 episodes. I'm still kind of confused of why they're having 2 finale episodes on different weeks. I don't think they've done that before, but we'll see what happens. Again, I really hope it ends up working out well for them. Both of them, we'll have to wait and see, but I feel like even if both of them are happy, which is going to be the best case scenario, it seems like there's going to be a lot of drama to get us there in the next 2 episodes. So that's what I'm seeing, and I'm really interested to see kind of what we end up getting about with this. So a lot happened.
Yeah, I think that's all the notes I have too.
Yeah, it's all the notes I have.
My laptop is also dying.
It was just crazy, and I don't.
Oh gosh.
It was just insane.
All right.
Oh, man.
Oh, do you want to close us out?
Yes, let's do it. So we really appreciate you guys watching. It's crazy that we're at episode 10 already. We had been talking about this podcast like since the beginning of the summer or late spring. So the fact that we're actually at episode 10 now is like awesome, and we still have a lot of we have so many amazing ideas and plans that we have to share with you guys, and we're so excited to be able to share with you guys those things in the coming months and weeks and stuff like that. It's going to be so awesome. So if you want to follow or subscribe to us, that would be great. If you want to subscribe to us here on YouTube, that would be awesome. If you want to make sure to turn on the bell and press it and do the post notifications. I'm still new at this, so I have to make sure that I'm like, I see all these YouTubers doing these things, but I'm still new at this, so bear with me. But if you want to subscribe to us, that would be great, and push the bell for the push notifications so you know when we upload videos. Again, like we talked about at the beginning, we're going to be changing up the format or the schedule time, so you'll be able to know when we post every episodes every week. And if you want to follow us, also on our Instagram, it's at Ballrooms and Bachelors. It's the same thing as our YouTube. And if you want to follow us on our personal Instagrams, it's at the top of the bio of the Ballrooms and Bachelors Instagram page, or at the end slide at the end of this episode. And if you have any comments, questions, anything that you want us to talk about in the show, ideas, stuff like that, just DM us, anything like that. We're happy to take any requests from you guys, because we are still kind of trying to figure out what kind of content we want to make and stuff like that. So that would be awesome. And yeah, we just really appreciate you guys watching, and any audience we have is just so cool. And just we're having so much fun doing this, and we can't wait for more exciting things in the future. So we really appreciate you guys so much.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And remember to look out for our bonus episode about the Dancing with the Stars and the Bachelor in Paradise cast announcements. We're going to do it as a YouTube live this Saturday at 12 noon. So the video itself will be pre-recorded, but you can chat like in the live chat.
Exactly, right.
So we'll be there for that. So but yeah, everything Matthew said, thank you guys again. I know I was like, I thought the finale might be like next week or this week or something, and then I was just like, okay, but we're like literally at the point that we're almost finishing the first season that we're covering with the podcast, which is exciting. And then we're like diving into 2 other shows entirely.
Exactly. So, it's gonna be interesting, especially because probably at the end of Dancing in Paradise, like we'll have a little bit of a break, and I know we're probably gonna do we're gonna do some more themed episodes, and maybe do a little bit less episodes, but still we're still figuring out that now, but we're gonna probably try to do at least some more content while we're in the break. But it's gonna be interesting to see kind of like what ends up happening with The Bachelor and stuff like that, because that's always gonna be crazy. And I'm really interested. I know we're gonna try to next week is a little sneak preview of next week, where we're gonna try to come up with like our list of like Bachelor kind of predictions and hopefuls that we have. So we're gonna try to do that, and it's gonna be interesting to see who they end up picking, because there's a lot of good candidates this year, so from this season and previous seasons. So
yes, and what was the thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, and then at the end of November and December, there's the dance competitions. November we'll at least be participating in a few of the events, and then December is the one that Matthew's going to in Texas. So we'll definitely have that to share as well. We'll
be making lots of content with that for sure.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome. See you guys next week. Thanks for Saturday. We'll see you Saturday.
Yes, see you Saturday.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.